Ladies and gentlemen, let me show you the easiest way to cut and sew your turtleneck collar. Okay, so now the first thing I went ahead to do was to grab, I'm working with my lining here initially, to grab my fabric, and I folded, see the way I folded it, as if you want to form letter A. That is how I folded it, and I just placed my tape to kind of gauge where I would get my desired neck width from. So after doing that, I just used my chalk to draw. See the way I'm drawing my line? That's how you're going to draw yours, as if you want to get a cone shape. Okay. So after drawing it, I went ahead to check to make sure that I got my desired width. Then the next thing I went ahead to do was to use my tape and mark 2 inches upwards. That is the width. That is the easy length now of the collar that I'm working with. Yeah. So after marking 2 inches upwards across my working piece, I just went ahead to shape it out to connect my markings together, and this is what we have here. So the next thing I went ahead to do was to cut it out. Okay, so now after cutting it out, I grabbed my main fabric. Now you can choose not to work with lining, but I said to work with lining. Okay, then I grabbed my main piece, folded it just the same way I folded the lining. I made sure that it was well aligned, and I just used the outline the lining has created to cut the fabric. Okay, I used the outline the lining has created to cut the fabric. After cutting the fabric, I separated the lining from the main piece. This is what we have here, ladies and gentlemen. The next thing I went ahead to do was to interface it. You want to interface it side by side. Don't open it up, because you make it expand and it will not fit the neck when you're trying to sew it. So it's after joining, ironing it side by side before you now place it on each other, and just give it a little press in the middle. Okay, so now the next thing I went ahead to do was to place it on each other, and I went ahead to join the top of this collar. Okay, so now after joining the top of the collar, the next thing I went ahead to do was to push the seam towards the lining, and I gave it a very good top stitch. Very, very important. After doing this, I held all the pieces down with my office pin, and I gave it a good press. By the time you iron it, this is what it's going to look like. Okay, so now how we are going to attach this collar is, I'm going to attach the fabric itself to my neckline. Then I'm just going to top stitch the lining on the fabric. I push the seam inward and top stitch the lining on the fabric. That's after attaching the fabric. Now after doing all that, this is what we have here. So this is the easiest way, the simplest way, and the fastest way to cut and sew your turtleneck collar. Thank you for watching.